Imagine, for a moment, walking into your local dealership and driving away in a brand new, all-electric pickup truck for less than $20,000. Not a toy, not a glorified golf cart, but an honest-to-goodness workhorse. Robust, practical, and designed for everyday American roads. That was the bold promise from Slate Auto, a startup that exploded onto the automotive scene with the kind of disruptive energy that sends shockwaves through the heart of both Detroit's assembly lines and Silicon Valley's tech campuses. But in a twist worthy of a Hollywood drama, that revolutionary deal has just vanished, quietly scrubbed from their website, leaving would-be buyers and industry watchers stunned. What happened to the most affordable electric truck in American history? And more importantly, does the dream of mainstream, budget-friendly electric vehicles still stand a chance in the wake of this upheaval? To answer that, we need to wind the clock back and consider the bumpy road electric vehicles have traveled over the past decade. For years, the biggest hurdle facing EV adoption in the United States and globally has been cost. Simply put, electric vehicles have almost always been priced higher than their gasoline-powered counterparts. The culprit? Those powerful lithium-ion batteries that store the juice to power an electric drivetrain. These high-tech components are expensive to manufacture, requiring rare minerals, complex chemistry, and painstaking assembly. In fact, battery packs have historically accounted for as much as 1/3 of the total cost of a new electric vehicle. Governments, eager to accelerate the shift away from fossil fuels, have stepped in to level the playing field. Federal tax credits, state-level rebates, and various subsidies became the great equalizers. In the United States, the federal government's electric vehicle tax credit, a policy that has its roots in the Obama administration, helped make EVs more affordable for ordinary families. The Inflation Reduction Act, passed in the early 2020s, extended these credits all the way through the end of the year 2032. This was a lifeline for both buyers and automakers, but it came with a catch: a dizzying web of eligibility requirements regarding the vehicle's price, the buyer's income, battery sourcing, and even where the car was assembled. For many, the rules were so complex that it took spreadsheets and tax advisors just to figure out if you qualified. Amid this backdrop, Slate Auto emerged like a bolt of lightning. Flush with funding from tech titans like Jeff Bezos, the company pitched a radical idea: a truly affordable, no-frills electric pickup truck. Forget luxury brands. Forget plush interiors and 20-speaker stereos. Slate's vision was rugged minimalism. Imagine a truck offered in a single, utilitarian shade of gray, with no chrome, no leather, and barely any electronics. The base model was stripped to its core: 2 sturdy seats, a flatbed for hauling, a basic steering wheel, and a Spartan gauge cluster that provided only essential information like battery charge and range. Everything else, yes, everything, would be an optional add-on. Power windows? Optional. Speakers? Optional. Even the roof was an extra, designed to bolt on or off depending on your needs, allowing drivers to transform their truck into an SUV, a fastback, or leave it as an open-air hauler. This modular approach was more than just clever marketing, it was a statement. Slate Auto would offer the flexibility of a grown-up Lego set, letting buyers build exactly the truck they wanted without paying for features they didn't need. The goal? After factoring in federal tax credits, the price would drop below the magic number of $20,000, a psychological barrier that, for many Americans, transforms a futuristic EV from an unattainable luxury into a real-world purchase. The response was nothing short of electric. Within just 2 weeks of unveiling their prototype, Slate Auto received over 100,000 pre-orders. That's more than many established automakers see for brand new models in their first year. The company became the darling of tech blogs and auto magazines, with headlines declaring the dawn of a new era in affordable EVs. Industry giants like Tesla and Ford, who were still struggling to push their own electric models below the $30,000 mark, suddenly found themselves under pressure to explain why their trucks cost so much more. But then, seemingly overnight, everything changed. The Trump administration, in a sweeping new spending package dubbed the Big Beautiful Bill, eliminated those crucial federal EV tax credits. In a matter of days, the financial foundation of Slate's offering was ripped away. No more federal rebates to cushion the sticker shock. The once glorious promise of a sub-$20,000 electric truck evaporated, and the company quietly removed all mention of that tantalizing price from its website. Suddenly, the base price for Slate's minimalist truck surged to roughly $27,500 before adding any extras. That's a staggering increase, over 30% higher than the original, headline-grabbing figure. Potential customers, many of whom had reserved their trucks with dreams of affordable, eco-friendly driving, were left reeling. For Slate Auto itself, the question became existential. Could the company survive this reversal, or would it join the long list of EV startups that flamed out before shipping a single vehicle? Industry experts sounded the alarm. Jessica Caldwell, executive director of insights at Edmunds, warned publicly. The loss of federal incentives will disproportionately impact entry-level EVs, making them less accessible for average Americans. The people who benefit most from these credits are the buyers who cannot afford to stretch their budgets. Sam Abulsamid, principal analyst at Guidehouse Insights, added, EV startups like Slate must now prove they have a path to profitability and scale without a safety net. The risk of failure is much higher without government support. Corey Cantor, from Bloomberg NF, echoed these concerns. Government incentives have been absolutely critical for bridging the cost gap between electric and gasoline vehicles. Without them, companies like Slate will have to get creative or face extinction. It's worth pausing to consider the scale of this challenge. Historically, the American auto industry has seen waves of innovation and disruption, but rarely has a policy change so abruptly altered the competitive landscape. In the years following World War II, the rise of cheap gasoline and mass production made car ownership accessible to millions, but it also entrenched the dominance of internal combustion engines. The recent EV boom, by contrast, was built on a partnership between technology and government. As late as the year 2015, electric vehicles accounted for less than 1% of new car sales in the United States. Fast forward to the early 2020s, and that share has climbed steadily, boosted by falling battery costs and generous incentives. Yet, even with all this progress, affordable EVs remain elusive. The average transaction price for a new electric vehicle in the United States hovers just above $50,000, well out of reach for most families. Slate Auto's model, then, was nothing short of revolutionary. By stripping away everything but the essentials, they hope to make electric vehicles mainstream. Not just for tech enthusiasts in California or wealthy urbanites, but for small business owners, rural drivers, and anyone who needs a tough, reliable truck without breaking the bank. The company's planned factory in Warsaw, Indiana, set to open in late 2026 or early 2027, was designed to churn out 150,000 units per year, with batteries supplied by South Korean giant SK On. This scale, combined with minimalist design, was supposed to drive costs down and make Slate's vision a reality. Now, with the loss of the federal tax credit, the path forward is fraught with uncertainty. Chris Barman, CEO of Slate Auto, and a veteran of Detroit's auto industry, remains optimistic. In a recent interview, he said, "We still believe in our mission. Battery prices have been falling for over a decade and will continue to drop. Our focus on modularity and customization allows us to offer a high-quality product at a competitive price. We're not giving up." But optimism alone will not pay the bills. The revised base price of $27,500 is a tough sell, especially when major automakers like Ford and Chevrolet are racing to launch their own electric pickups with more features, better brand recognition, and nationwide service networks. Tesla's Cybertruck, for example, may not be as affordable as originally promised, but it offers advanced features and a loyal customer base. Even foreign brands, like Hyundai and BYD, are eyeing the American market with competitively priced EVs. The pressure is on for Slate to prove that its bare-bones approach can win hearts and wallets without Uncle Sam's help. So what are the scenarios that Slate Auto and its competitors now face? Let's break them down. Scenario 1. Slate doubles down on its minimalist, customizable philosophy. By building only what's essential and letting customers add features a la carte, the company keeps its factory lean, its supply chain nimble, and its prices as low as possible. This approach could appeal to a new generation of buyers who value choice and affordability over luxury. Imagine a contractor in rural Ohio who just wants a tough, no-nonsense truck to haul lumber, or a young entrepreneur in Texas who needs a work vehicle that won't break the bank. For these buyers, paying extra for only the features they truly want, like a roof panel or a basic infotainment system, might be preferable to shelling out for a fully loaded model. However, even this scenario is not without risks. With a starting price now close to $30,000 once options are added, Slate risks losing its edge. Legacy automakers, with their deep pockets and global supply chains, can offer more features for only a few $1,000s more. Will buyers really choose a truck with manual windows and no stereo over a better-equipped competitor? Jessica Caldwell points out, consumers are used to getting more for their money. The minimalist approach works for some, but not for everyone. Scenario 2. Slate seeks partnerships and new sources of capital. With Jeff Bezos in their corner, the company has access to venture funding and the clout to negotiate with suppliers. By ramping up production to 150,000 vehicles per year, Slate hopes to achieve economies of scale that drive costs down further. There is also talk of manufacturing partnerships with established auto giants, which could provide access to global distribution networks, service centers, and even shared platforms. Some industry insiders speculate that Slate might pivot toward a subscription model, where customers pay a low monthly fee to rent a basic truck, then upgrade features as needed. This approach could appeal to younger buyers who prioritize flexibility over ownership, and it could help Slate weather the storm of high upfront costs. Scenario 3. The nightmare scenario. Slate is unable to bridge the price gap left by the disappearance of incentives. Production is delayed. Investors lose confidence. The company burns through its cash reserves and is forced to shutter before a single truck rolls off the assembly line. Sam Abulsamid sums it up. Startups must show a real path to profitability and scale, or they won't survive. The loss of incentives just raises the bar. The American auto industry has seen dozens of EV startups come and go over the past decade, from promising names like Fisker and Faraday Future to more obscure players. History is littered with the remains of well-intentioned companies that underestimated the brutal economics of car manufacturing. Let's not forget the broader implications for the electric vehicle market as a whole. Slate Auto's predicament isn't just a case study in one company's struggles. It's a test of whether affordable EVs can exist without government help. For policymakers, this is a stark reminder of how public policy shapes innovation. Federal tax credits didn't just help a few buyers. They jump-started an entire industry, closed the price gap with gasoline cars, and helped America compete globally in clean technology. The rollback of these incentives exposes the market to the full force of economic reality. Without subsidies, electric vehicles must stand on their own. And that means only the most efficient, innovative companies will survive. As Corey Cantor of Bloomberg NEF explains, "We're entering a new phase. The companies that make it will be the ones that can build EVs for the masses, not just for the wealthy." For consumers, the message is clear. The landscape is changing fast. That sub-$20,000 truck you saw in the headlines may now cost you nearly $30,000 before you even add a roof or a stereo. If you're shopping for an electric vehicle, do your homework. Research the latest incentives. Some states still offer rebates, and battery prices are trending downward. Compare what's included in the base price, and don't be afraid to negotiate. Remember, what's true today might change by the time you're ready to buy. For tech watchers and investors, Slate's story is a microcosm of the broader trend in the EV industry. Disruption is messy. Government support can vanish overnight, but technological innovation keeps moving forward. Over the last decade, the cost of lithium-ion batteries has dropped by nearly 90%. Battery technology continues to improve, with new chemistries promising even lower costs and higher energy densities. Charging infrastructure is expanding rapidly, making range anxiety less of a concern. Gene Munster of Loop Ventures argues, "In the end, it's technology, not policy, that will decide the fate of electric vehicles. Cheaper batteries, faster charging, better durability. These are the keys to mass adoption." Yet, for all the progress, the road ahead remains uncertain. The next few years will be a crucible for Slate Auto and the entire affordable EV segment. If battery prices keep dropping, some analysts predict they could fall below $100 per kilowatt-hour by the end of this decade. That could push the price of EVs down to parity with gasoline cars. If Slate and others can survive until then, the dream of an affordable, customizable electric truck may just be delayed, not destroyed. There's also a geopolitical angle to consider. The global race for battery minerals, lithium, cobalt, nickel, is heating up. Countries like China, South Korea, and Australia have invested heavily in mining and refining, creating supply chain risks for American automakers. The Inflation Reduction Act tried to address this by tying incentives to domestic sourcing, but with those credits gone, companies like Slate will have to find new ways to secure stable, affordable battery supplies. Meanwhile, other countries are taking different approaches. In China, government subsidies and aggressive industrial policy have made the country the world's largest EV market, with dozens of local brands offering budget-friendly electric cars. Europe, too, has used a mix of incentives, regulations, and infrastructure investment to drive EV adoption. The United States now risks falling behind if it cannot balance innovation with smart policy. So where does this leave Slate Auto and you, the American consumer? The next chapter will depend on a mix of factors: the pace of battery innovation, the willingness of investors to keep backing bold ideas, and the evolving patchwork of state and local incentives. In the short term, expect to see more experimentation from startups like Slate subscription models, modular designs, pop-up service centers, and perhaps even joint ventures with legacy automakers. But the stakes are high. If affordable EVs cannot make it in America, the promise of a cleaner, greener transportation future will remain out of reach for millions. Policymakers, investors, and entrepreneurs must work together to bridge the gap through smarter manufacturing, better financing options, and a relentless focus on driving costs down. Here's the bottom line. The end of federal incentives is a major setback, but it is not the end of the road. If Slate Auto and its competitors can weather this storm, innovate on costs, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible, the affordable electric vehicle dream will live on. It may just take a little longer and a lot more creativity than anyone expected. Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive into the global economics and technology shaping tomorrow's cars. If you found this story informative, insightful, or even a little frustrating, please hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. Would you buy a no-frills electric pickup if it meant real savings? Or is comfort and convenience a must for you? Let us know in the comments below, and stay tuned for more stories.